Many of you might remember the story on Mark McNamara. He is the San Jose police officer that was sending a bunch of racist text messages. Well, in one of those text messages, he threatened to shoot this melanated attorney. So recently, they confiscated all of his weapons, rightfully so. And they were also taking his peace license away so that he could never be a police officer in California again. So, in a text message, he wrote, "I'll shoot you too." Gun seized from ex California cop after threatening black attorney in text messages. Racist text messages, very racist text messages that emerged back in early November. Mm-mm-mm. So they said he had a pretty large stockpile of weapons at home that they confiscated after he made the threat on this attorney. McNamara joined the force in 2017. He had an arsenal of 18 firearms taken away. Mm-mm-mm. Amid ongoing civil investigation into a March 2022 shooting in which McNamara wounded a black man at a Mexican restaurant downtown San Jose, according to court documents filed last month. Under the terms of the probe, McNamara can't get his guns back until May of 2024. The officer resigned, and he should not have been allowed to resign. Okay, he should have been fired, and he really should be jailed. But we know how they get down when it comes down to cops, especially the ones that look like McNamara. So, 2 days before, disgusting text messages came to light while a restraining order against McNamara was ordered on November 6th. One of the text messages that prompted the order was sent to attorney Adante Pointer, who is representing 21-year-old Kaan Green, a junior college football player who filed a civil action against McNamara and other officers who shot him several times. The text message, meanwhile, led to the dismissal of other unnamed police officer. This was also a San Jose police officer, and internal discipline for a third officer who was placed on administrative leave. One of the messages sent by McNamara was filled with racial slurs, including the N word. The other day, this N word lawyer is like, "Mr. McNamara, you know we can find you guilty of excessive force, right?" I'm like, yeah. Then what happens? I think I give a F what y'all N words think. That's what he wrote in the text message. "I'll shoot you too," McNamara wrote after giving a deposition of the shooting. So Pointer has not commented publicly on the matter since the text messages were released to the public on November 3rd as a result of a separate internal investigation into McNamara. But officials have um so far they kept a tight lip on all of the details during the probe. Now, I did a video on this when McNamara's messages were published, and I do have it in that video that I did back in early November. So after the city declined to represent yeah, that's right. After the text messages came out, as a police officer and being part of the union, he would have been entitled to a lawyer And all of the lawyers in that city refused to represent him. Yeah, I remember that. So he could not get any representation. And that right there tells you, usually that is rare for no lawyers to help an officer. Look, Derek Chauvin was even able to get representation, but they would not represent him. They all declined. So McNamara had to pretty much represent himself, and a local attorney, Susan Coleman, assumed the role of defending the officer in the racially charged case. So he must have recently got her, because when I did my video on him, the first one, none of those attorneys would represent him. So black leaders in San Jose said they took McNamara's words and determined the messages were sent. They took it seriously as a serious threat to the community. Anyone with the power or authority who abuses it needs to be stripped of it. Reverend Jethro Moore, president of the NAACP chapter, said in an interview on Thursday, clearly there's something mentally unstable there, because gun violence is not a laughing matter. McNamara sent other racist text messages. He said, "I hate black people," in one text message, while mocking Green's shooting at La Victoria on March 27th, 2022. On the night of the incident, Green was inside of the restaurant with his friends when a random man walked in and started fighting with Green and his friends. The assailant briefly left the establishment and returned with two other men, one of whom flashed a gun, which triggered a struggle. And if you remember, Green was the one that was able to get the gun away from the guy and broke up the fight. So when McNamara and the police showed up, they saw Green with the gun, and he just took the gun away from the perpetrator, and he just immediately shot him. Mm-mm-mm. So, yeah, someone at the scene called the police as Green broke up the fight and wrestled the gun away, Pointer said. By the time Green exited the restaurant with the gun still in hand, McNamara arrived from about 800 feet away, and he just opened fire on Green multiple times. Mm-mm-mm. So then he had another text message, N word, wanted to carry a gun in the Wild West. Well, first of all, it is not illegal for us to have a gun. But, despite that knowledge, y'all collectively, citizens and police, walk around and act like it is illegal for us to have a gun. So instead of walking up and trying to find out what's going on, you just open fire. Yeah, that's the police work that's done in America. So anyway, he goes on in his text message. Let me just say that again. N word wanted to carry a gun in the Wild West. Not on my watch, McNamara said in one of the text messages to fellow officers, which he sent a day after the shooting. After the shooting, McNamara claimed that he thought Green was linked to a homicide that happened less than a mile away. But police eventually arrested another suspect, leading to Green's lawsuit in 2022 for monetary and punitive damages. In another message, McNamara suggested the shooting was a boon for Green, as he would benefit financially from it. Well, I don't know any black man that wants to get shot. Okay, let's just establish that. That man was not trying to get shot that night. He broke up a fight, you know? It just goes to show you how dangerous it is, even for a black man to break up a fight. If you remember, that's the same thing that happened to Eric Gardner when he was choked out. Just before the police arrived, he had broke up a fight, and he was the one that lost his life. And Green almost lost his life. And then he goes on in another text message saying, they should all be bowing to me and bringing me gifts since I saved a fellow N word by making him rich as F. Let me just make this clear to people like you, McNamara. We ain't never bowing down to you. Okay? You ain't bowed down worthy. None of you are. So let's go on. Otherwise, he would have lived a life of poverty and crime. Well, all of us do not live lives of poverty and crime. In fact, the vast majority of the Black community don't commit crimes. Despite that, you have criminalized us since chattel slavery. The day we walked off of the plantation, we became criminals, and prisons went up all over the country. So we know what the prisons were for just by the way you did it. So, San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan called McNamara's text vile and said the language and conduct does not represent the many officers in our department who work every day to keep us all safe. You know, y'all say that in every statement that you're not like that, but actually, the way policing is done in America, you are like that. You are. McNamara is the face of the average officer in America. He really, truly is. So, y'all, that's the latest update. They confiscated his guns. So, but eventually he will get them back. But this man is a danger to the public, as far as I'm concerned, and he shouldn't be free. See, when you lock up innocent men, that are exonerated and they get out 5 decades later, this is what you should be doing to people like McNamara. He needs to sit in there for 40, 50 years. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.